Yo, what is going on? I'm sitting here checking something. I'm all jacked up. Yo, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all probably saw that the actual title of this video was something else. I'm gonna be honest, like I really didn't want to talk about her today. I was like, man, I don't really want to talk about her. I had it broken down. I was gonna talk about a story somebody sent me about a reality star and a DUI, and I was gonna explain how those works and I had like three or four topics that were really good topics, but but I had good topics that was not Tiffany Henyard related. But then somebody was like, "Yo, the feds hit her with a new subpoena," and I was like, "God damn!" I was like, "Now that the feds hit her with a new subpoena, we got to talk about it," because I had to pull up some things, and hey, I don't want to be a person who give bad actors advice, but we just got to talk about what's going on in this subpoena, why Trump's new appointees for the DOJ are probably going to be her worst nightmare. We got to talk about the subpoena, what the subpoena was related to, how to find out or what they are probably looking at with the limited information we have to determine what potentially shady went on. So we're going to dive into it. As always, I'm Marcus, attorney reactions to current events and trending news. Not legal advice. Never listen to a talking head on YouTube. Just infotainment purposes as I give my opinion and take on topic. Hey, Kendall R., I'm glad that you were able to catch me and I was in a position to be caught. Wow, that sounds wow. I'm not saying that again. But I'm glad you could tune into the live. I appreciate it. Round of applause to you for dropping the first comment on this live stream. Okay, so I got a lot of tabs on the screen. I think the I got a lot of tabs on the screen related to the subpoena, a federal program, a bunch of stuff, but we want to try to piece this together. And because I pivoted the last moment to change the topic, I really don't have it organized how I normally would. So we're going to start out with the easiest thing first. Let's talk about the persons on the thumbnail. So we know who the person in the middle is. Terrence, what's good? I appreciate you tuning in. Jim C, what's up? Yeah, I'm good over here, Terrence. Just happy to, in the land of everybody being terminated and the economy being bad, I'm blessed. No complaints. So let's start with the thumbnail. Okay. On the thumbnail, we all know who the small person in the middle is. Tiffany Henyard. We all familiar with that old smug shot that she got. Maybe getting upgraded soon. I don't know. When you get a subpoena after getting your ass whipped, when you get a federal subpoena after getting your ass whipped in an election, that means that all eyes still on you. All right. And trust me, I didn't want to talk about this, but every time I try to leave, something keep pulling me back. So we're gonna start with the thumbnail. Kash Patel is the new director of the FBI, the acting director of the ATF, and Pam Bondi is the United States Attorney. One I've met before, one I haven't met before. But we're going to talk a little bit about their backgrounds because we got to understand a little bit about their background, who they are, what their experience are, because whether they decide to keep a policy, a program that was in place from the Biden era U.S. Attorney in the Northern District of Illinois is going to be paramount to if Tiffany Henyard will have an out that may give her a much softer landing. What's going on, Lisa? I appreciate you tuning in. So let's start with person number one. We're going to start with Kash Patel, just so we got to get the background so we know what's going on. And ain't no way to start research like Wikipedia. But Kash Patel, director of the FBI, interesting past. We're just gonna go to his legal and government career. In 2006 to 2014, started his government career as a public defender. Hey, shout out to Kash Patel, fellow public defender for his first job as an attorney. Shout out to Kash Patel for that. Started out as a public defender, then transitioned to a trial attorney with the Department of Justice. Hey, so far, me and Kash around the same age. I think he got me by 2 or 3 years. But hey, so far, hey, public defender, trial attorney, hey, career's on point. This where it gets crazy. All right, this is where he jumps me career wise. In 2017 and 2018, he was the senior aide to the House Intelligence Committee chair. I think that's Devin Nunes, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Devin Nunes. Then in 2019, 2020, senior director of counterterrorism and national security council. Later on in 2019, informal Ukraine policy specialist role, principal deputy director for national intelligence in 2020, chief of staff for the secretary of defense in 2020. He had a lot of things for a short period of time. But Cash Patel generally is described as a no nonsense guy. A lot of people are, I guess, apprehensive on the other side of the political spectrum because they believe that Cash Patel is going to weaponize components of DOJ, more notably the FBI, which he's the director of. Pretty tough to weaponize the ATF. It remains to be seen at this point. Now let's go ahead, pivot. We're going to close him out. Let's go ahead and pivot because we got to see a little bit and get some background about Pam Bondi so we can understand. Everybody want to, so we can understand what's going on. Let me go ahead and get this screen up real quick. And Pam Bondi is someone who I actually had a chance to meet. I used to investigate, prosecute healthcare fraud. She was the attorney general in Florida. The healthcare fraud prosecution and investigation unit is within the attorney general's office. So I was the director of the unit in my city. She was the attorney general that housed the unit, and they actually had a joint conference, and I had a chance to meet her. Very smart, very ambitious, and very experienced. Whatever you say about her politics, it was no question that she was going to pass confirmation with flying colors, because if we just look at her career from 2011 to 2019, she served as the attorney general of Florida. And I mean, served as a lobby, represented Trump during his first impeachment hearing. In 2020, she was the first vocal supporter to come out and speak on behalf of President Trump. Like, I knew before she was nominated to serve as the United States attorney, she would serve as the United States attorney. Like, it was a foregone conclusion. Everyone was familiar with the relationship that she had with President Trump. Now, again, very qualified person, but politics people on the opposing sides always have concerns. They have concerns. One of the reasons, let's see if they have it in here. It relates to, let's see if they got it in here related to the Trump University. Okay. All right, let's read this. This is some of the concerns people had, because you got to understand both of these players, because they're going to be paramount in some things we're going to talk about in the Northern District of Illinois with regard, and that's the U.S. Attorney's Office that would or is investigating Tiffany Henyard. All right, in 2013, Bondi received criticism following a campaign donation from Donald Trump. Prior to the donation, Bondi had received at least 22 fraud complaints regarding Trump University. A spokesperson for Bondi announced that her office was considering joining a lawsuit initiated by the Attorney General for New York regarding tax fraud, potential charges against Trump. 4 days later, and Justice for All, a political action committee established by Bondi to support her re-election, received a $25,000 donation from the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Bondi subsequently declined to join the lawsuit against Trump University. Both Bondi and Trump had defended whether or not the donation was proper. I can't even read tonight. In 2016, blah, 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 ethics complaint came where they filed a complaint with the IRS regarding the donation. The Trump Foundation stated that it had been made an error, intending the donation to go to Bondi's unrelated Kansas nonprofit, Justice for All. So clearly there was a relationship there between President Trump and then Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, let's put this into context. These two persons are holding important roles. Again, Pam Bondi is the U.S. attorney, top attorney in the United States. Kash Patel, director of the FBI, acting director of the ATF. For purposes of this, we're focusing on the FBI. Now, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Marsha, I appreciate you tuning in. Jerry, was she? Yeah, I don't know. She's still technically the mayor for a month, something like that. So I'm not sure how she's financing and flipping the bill. Now let's talk about the subpoena. I'm going to go ahead and go to this. Pull it up. But generally, if you get a subpoena in 2024, federal grand jury subpoena, that means they convene 12 citizens from a local area that's probably that of the defendants, because that's what the Constitution requires. They're listening to evidence to see if there's enough evidence to file an indictment. If you get a grand jury subpoena in 2024, then you get radio silence on the federal investigation. And everyone is universally aware of their internal policy not to announce indictments or sanctions or anything related to political figures 90 days or less prior to an election, because they don't want to sway the election. We talked about where that originated from, Clinton versus Trump. We talked about that in the previous video. Then immediately after you get your ass whipped in an election, a new subpoena is issued for more information, grand jury subpoena. That means that the radio silence was not indicative of no one is looking at your ass, okay? The feds are still watching. It's still out there. It's still an issue. Let's go ahead and pull up this. Here's a really short video, but we're going to pull it up because we need to know. And y'all let me know if y'all got a link to the actual subpoena. The media outlet said they had it, but I couldn't find it published anywhere online. And because I did a last-minute change to this video, I just didn't have time to dig and look. But let's go ahead and pull this video up so we can talk about it. Fed seeks records tied to Dalton land development as Mayor Tiffany Henyard is ousted. All right, let's go to the video.
The village of South Suburban Dalton is hit by a federal subpoena. Fox 32 obtained a copy of the document. It's dated the 25th, the same day residents voted to replace Mayor Tiffany Henyard with trustee Jason House. He won by a landslide, 88%. The subpoena seeks records all related to a development on Lincoln Avenue. That land allegedly used to be owned by Henyard's boyfriend. Subpoena demands testimony on March 17th at Dirksen.
All right, real short, sweet story. Let's scroll down to the bottom, because as soon as I heard the video, I was like, Lincoln, but wait, that land.
A pair of infamous Mexican drug.
I was like, okay. That sounds interesting. So it says the brief. The village of Dalton received a federal subpoena dated February 25th, which was yesterday, the same day that she was ousted. The subpoena seeks records related to a development on Lincoln Avenue, which was allegedly owned by Henyard's boyfriend. Now, if you all recall, let's pull up another video because we gotta piece this together. I was like, why does that sound familiar? That sounds vaguely familiar. My memory is not what it used to be. No, that's not the one. Until I went here. I was like, oh, the steakhouse, St. Patrick's. Now, now this is starting to get interesting. Like this is right. This part of the story is really starting to get interesting. I actually started creating a timeline of events, but I changed this the last minute, so I didn't have the time. So I maybe save that for a later video. But so we know in February 8th, 2021, Tiffany Henyard became mayor. The property that the subpoena is seeking information related to is the land that St. Patrick's Restaurants is located. Now, I'm sure you all are familiar with this and are from the area. You're familiar with St. Patrick's Restaurant. Long story short, how did St. Patrick Restaurant jump out to me? Because, I remember she didn't want to give them a liquor license so they couldn't open up shop. And the judge subsequently said contempt of court for not signing the actual liquor license as she was instructed to do. So I thought, this is interesting. So Fed's looking into the land that was allegedly owned by her boyfriend related to the sale. So now I was like, what's up with this land? When was it sold? How much was it sold for? I got questions. So as my questions were developing, I said, you know what? Let's go ahead, look online to see what information we could find out about the land when it was sold. And I'm gonna give y'all a elementary approach to investigations. It's very simple. I'm gonna give y'all a real elementary approach, and y'all probably already know it because my tribe real smart. Y'all don't play. But let's go and pull this up. So this is the land. I went to Remax. I was like, shout out to Remax. Like, I went to Remax. I was like, let's go on a website where we can see the property that was sold, where it was at. More importantly, how many times it was sold, what was the sale price. All right. So we scroll all the way down to the bottom. And what they have here is interesting. So in 2015, the property was sold for $50,000. I think it had like an abandoned vet or closed down vet or something on it. But 2015, hold on real quick. All right. 2015, property sold for $50,000. And 2021, the property was sold for $80,000. Now, you all let me know because, again, I changed the topic of this video last minute. I'm assuming from what I can see that the $80,000 sale price is when the property purportedly was placed into the possession of Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend. Y'all let me know if I'm assuming that's it because let's just put the numbers together. February 8th of 2021, Tiffany Henyard became mayor. This transaction occurred some months later on September 27th of 2001 for $80,000. In 2022, it was sold for $200,000. Now, I wasn't able to dig up and find the records, but from what I can see through open source research, the purchaser of the property was Tiffany, not Tiffany Henyard, but the Tiffany who actually opened up this restaurant. And I don't know, I don't know if you all recall doing Tiffany's interview that she did when she was discussing why she couldn't get the liquor license and what the beef was. I remember she said that she purchased the property. I don't think she said the dollar amount. I can't recall, but she expressly said it cost her a $6 million investment to actually build the St. Patrick's restaurant on that property. Let me see. Kiana Becker said Tiffany sold 60 plus properties. And that's why they said in a news story the property was allegedly owned by Kamal Woods. Now, just looking at that timeline, I took it down. From a common sense standpoint, if they're looking into this property and they're looking for some type of fraud, the fraud is always going to occur where the most profit occurred. So there's two places just on the timeline alone. These are all accusations. I'm just looking at it from a common sense standpoint. If I'm looking at an investigation, property was bought for 50, sold for 80. Property was purchased for 80 and sold for 200. And that increase was less than a year. I think it was September, maybe a little over a year. I think it was September 2021, and it sold for the purchase was September 2021 for 80,000. The sale was November of 2022 for 200,000. So that big ass gap right there within over a year period is going to be where they're looking at. What's going on with this big ass property sale and this large amount of profits just a year later? And they're going to look at, were there improvements to the property? how was the money obtained to purchase the property? Did the person have the assets to actually buy the property? They're going to look at the disposition of the property, the sale of the property, where the proceeds went to. Was it split with anyone? The only other place that they could potentially be looking for fraud, and I don't know if this would be the case, is you have an $80,000 to $200,000 gap between purchase and sale. So you got $120,000 profit. Then the next large price would be 200,000 that it was purchased for, and 6 million that it cost to actually build the property. So those are the two areas and gaps, because that's where the most money is made, where they are going to be looking. Now, again, this is just me talking, okay? So hey, no, I'm not saying any of this is true. I'm just saying hypothetical. I've dealt with land grant frauds and investigated those crimes. A lot of bankers, mortgage companies, I've been there, done that. Typically, when we're looking at this situation, we got an $80,000 purchase and a sale for $200,000. That's $120,000. That's not really like, it could be something shady there, but I'm just gonna be honest. I wouldn't even look at it for $120,000. I wouldn't even make my nose tingle. I'd be like, $120,000. Next case, I wouldn't even look into it. But a lot of times, what you see with transactions like this is, let's say the property was purchased for $80,000, sold for $200,000. Then the fraud often occurs not on that first transaction because it wasn't a large amount of money. The fraud normally occurs with the build of the property. And I'm not saying that the builders of the St. Patrick's restaurant is committing fraud, but building the property is where a lot of overinflated costs for revenue go. A lot of kickbacks for contractors go. So I'm suspecting, and I haven't seen the subpoena yet, so I don't know specifically what they're asking for, but they're going to look at, did the person who purchased the property originally, or every purchaser of the property, did they have the resources to purchase it? And I would suspect that they're probably really going to be looking at the $6 million that were put into that land to build this restaurant and the contracts surrounding that. The contracts occurred within the village of Dalton. A lot of fraud goes on with contract. A lot of kickbacks occur. That's where I'm thinking that this is going to look. Just if you just ask me off of the cuff with what I have in front of me. Let me go ahead and check the comments. Then we're going to talk about, I don't want to give people an out, but I think Tiffany Henyard does have an out that could possibly not get her a maximum prison sentence. But I don't know if this option is still going to be available because of the two persons we talked about when we started this video, Cash Patel and Pam Bondi. Let me check the comments real quick. Let's see. She got cocky because the FBI went silent and her supporters always tell her she's not charged, so she's fine. Her and Kamal think they're untouchable, and it's sad. When they get charged, it'll break her. Yeah, when they get charged, if they get charged, it's going to be a big deal. But the fact that they got grand jury records, they know all about the finances. We talked about this before. The government can't subpoena your bank records without providing you notice and an opportunity to defend yourself in court because of all of these laws with finances and everything. I'm not even going to go down the road and explain it. But generally, I'm the government. I can't look in your bank records without giving you notice that I want to look, and you got an opportunity to challenge it and defend it. However, if a grand jury is convened and we get a grand jury subpoena, we can look at, the feds could look at your bank record all they want, not give you notice, and it'll be completely unbeknownst to you that they're looking at your bank records. So the fact that a grand jury has been around since May of 2024, I think, was when the first subpoena went out. At least May of 2024, chances are they probably have all of the bank records and can identify where money went, where it came from, who's holding what. Let's see, the FBI investigating agents definitely have a solid case beyond a reasonable doubt. The title transfer of the property for St. Patrick is in serious questions. Some say I agree with your assessment. That's interesting. I may have to, you can pull those titles up. I may have to do a deep dive. This is just off the cuff because remember, this is the last second change. Don't beat me up. Like, dude, do your research. Let's see. I hope the FBI waits till May so the village or township don't have to pay the bills. And yeah, they already said she stole a lot of property. Kamal and Quigley have property because of Dalton. Interesting. What's going on, Rita? I appreciate you tuning in. Let's see. Henyard tries to get both municipalities to pass that they would cover her costs. Yeah, I agree. Now let's talk about this. What are her options? Okay, option number one, she can do what she I think has been doing is just kind of ignoring it and hiring bad attorneys. It is what it is. Okay, so option number one, she can just remain silent and hire bad attorneys. I think that's a terrible idea because I think all of her former allies who are charged with bankruptcy fraud, in particular Keith Freeman, I think she's pretty much screwed on that front. Keith Freeman had such close access, he knows where all the bones are buried. But there's an option out there that may be of significant consequence to Tiffany Henyard. Let's go ahead and pull this up. We're in the Northern District of Illinois, which is the U.S. Attorney's Office that would prosecute this case. Let's pull this up. We're going to look at this program. We're going to see if this program is yay or nay. All right, this is interesting. So, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago announces individual self-disclosure pilot program. This is in September 16th of 2004. All right. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago today announced the formation of a pilot program that encourages early and voluntary self-disclosure of criminal conduct by individual participant in certain nonviolent offenses. Okay, so self-disclosure, mandatory reporting requirements. I can't say most programs, but most federal programs have some type of self-reporting requirement. If you self-report and it was a mistake, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I've had cases where I was like, oh man, this looks like fraud. And I've been looking into it. And then the person will be like, oh, snap. I accidentally overbilled these services as a doctor because I used the wrong code to bill for. I should have used code A and I actually used code B. I'm going to self-report because I don't want to go to prison. And you self-report, we look through the records and be like, okay, since you told no harm, no foul, we're going to chop it up as a mistake. You got an extra $300,000 that you shouldn't. Give us our money back. We'll let bygones be bygones. So that's typically how self-reporting works. All right, let's go ahead and finish reading this. It says, all right, this program was initiated for 6 months. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Okay. Initiated for 6 months. So we talk around March now. It was geared towards individuals who have participated in and have knowledge of criminal wrongdoing by virtue of their employment. The purpose of this program is to encourage and incentivize individuals to self-report wrongdoing that was previously unknown to law enforcement. It says previously unknown. So that might be a do not pass go, do not collect $200. $200. I don't know if it was previously unknown to law enforcement at this time, but arguably. But all right, self-report wrongdoing that was previously unknown to law enforcement without fear of criminal prosecution for doing so. The benefit for those who make timely and meaningful disclosures is a non-prosecution agreement in exchange for their ongoing assistance. Depending on the success of the pilot program, the office will determine whether to extend it on a more permanent basis. All right, we are implementing this pilot program to provide a roadmap for how to report individual and organizational misconduct, said Morris Pascal, acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. We hope the program will enhance our effectiveness by incentivizing individuals, and their counsel to provide us with actionable and timely information. All right. From today through March 15th, 2025, the office will accept submissions on a pre-printed intake form that should be emailed to the following email address. Each submission will be reviewed by a working group of AUSAs. Anonymously reporting is not allowed. I don't know. Would you advise somebody to report something? You can't do it anonymously, and it's no guarantee that they may not lock your ass up and throw you in the pokey. I don't know. But anonymous reporting is not allowed, and individuals who have already been informed did not pass go, did not collect $200. Individual who's already been informed they're subject or a target of a federal criminal investigation will not be eligible. This was floating around, and people thought it was an out. It's a do not pass go, do not collect $200 if you are a subject of an ongoing investigation. The reported individual must agree to forfeit or disgorge any proceeds from their own criminal wrongdoing and pay full restitution to the victim. Again, this program is not available to individuals whose misconduct involve violence, threat of violence, terrorism, or any sex offense involving force, fraud, coercion of a minor. Additionally, no go again, elected federal or foreign officials, federal law enforcement officials, or this for just federal officials, or individuals who are, this might also bar individuals who are the highest ranking person in their organization are not eligible to participate in the program. Yes, as the mayor of the village of Dalton, you are the highest ranking person in an organization. So there were a few videos out there where people talked about this program. This program is a no-go just because the biggest reason we can see here, there's already an ongoing investigation. Prior to that May 2024 subpoena, let me see. Nope, she wouldn't have had time anyway. So this program is going to be a no-go. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if this program is going to be a thing. I don't even know if it's still in existence. Even though it's on the website, we all know that Doge could have fired the person whose job it is to update the website, unfortunately. So I don't even know if this is up to date. The thing that gives me cause to pause on whether this is up to date or not is because this was created prior to President Trump coming in office. Once you have a new president in office, once you have a new U.S. Attorney, Pam Bondi, once you have a new director of the FBI, this investigation is probably being done most time when you have fraud and public corruption. Is an investigation is done by the FBI jointly with the U.S. Attorney's Office. If it's just the feds, that's probably the parties investigating it. FBI is taking the lead because they have a new U.S. Attorney, a new FBI director. Generally, shit, that would fly under an old administration is probably gone away. Just as a matter of course, knowing how current President Trump is and the persons he nominated and got confirmed to serve in these positions, I am willing to bet that any program that was created under the old regime is probably tossed the hell out. Now, we talked about this before. Tiffany Henyard she had a period where she was glazing Donald Trump a lot after his election, going real hard on MAGA. And the expectation and the suspicion was she was hoping that she could get the Eric Adams treatment, where either the FBI would decline to continue to investigate, or the AUSA for the Northern District of Illinois would say, you know what, we don't want to pursue this for some reason or other. Unfortunately for Tiffany Henyard, she doesn't have that much clout. She doesn't have that much authority. I want to take a look real quick before we get out of here at the application for that pilot program that Tiffany Henyard would not qualify for. But I want to see just some of the language. I haven't even read this. I just pulled it up. To March 16th, non-prosecution agreements, purpose of the program. Okay, all right. So a non-prosecution agreement is essentially a deferred prosecution, non-prosecution agreement. If you come in and you do this, you pay restitution, do community service, like we'll figure out a way to resolve this favorably. Deferred prosecutions normally result in charges being dismissed. I wouldn't dismiss any charges of public corruption. I don't give a damn who it was and who told on who. But non-prosecution agreement factors. So these are the factors that they look at to see if an individual who would qualify for this program, not Tiffany Henyard, would be able to participate in this program. The office maintains the discretion to determine on a case-by-case basis whether an individual reporting wrongdoing on the merits, a non-prosecution agreement. Among other factors that office will consider are the individual's truthfulness, the individual's ability and willingness to assist law enforcement, the extent of the individual's participation in the wrongdoing, and the timeliness of the reporting, the individual position within the organization, and the individual's criminal history. As part of the program, the reporting individual must agree to forfeit or disgorge any proceeds of their own. Doesn't apply to Foreign Corruption Practices Act, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, real quick. Let me see something. Procedures for reporting. This office will begin accepting email submissions. All right, so this is actually interesting because it's interesting. Because now the question I want to know is, do we think that, as an example, y'all let me know y'all thought. Do y'all think that Keith Freeman would fall under the provisions to be able to tell wrongdoing on Tiffany Henyard that he's aware of and get the protections of this program? Interesting. The language of the program says something to the effect of, I'm just paraphrasing here, if there's an ongoing investigation that's already known to investigators, you can't participate in this program. But there's some wiggle room there, and in that application, it didn't go into much detail. But that's interesting. That's actually a good question. Do you think Keith Freeman or some other person who's familiar with the alleged misconduct and misappropriation of Tiffany Henyard, do you think they actually utilize this program? Because generally it said if an individual already has an investigation going, they can't take advantage of this program. But let's say I was Keith Freeman's attorney. If I'm Keith Freeman's attorney, I would argue that no, you all had an investigation into me related to bankruptcy fraud. I'm not here to self-disclose information related to my bankruptcy fraud. I'm here to self-disclose information related to fraud and misappropriation done by the mayor of the village of Dalton. Those are two different things, I think. And with the limited definition they had in that language, I think that anybody who had close proximity with Tiffany Henyard could take advantage of this to get an out, or could have taken advantage of this to get an out. Maybe not so much now because everything is underway, but I think early on, it could have been plausible that a Keith Freeman or someone else who was familiar with the fraud or alleged wrongdoing, misconduct, could have taken advantage of this. So that's an interesting thing. Let me see. Let's go ahead. Let me check out some of these comments real quick. What's going on, Mom for Life? I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, Lacey and Freeman may well have turned over so much. It is alleged that somebody has removed access to financial documents from staff. If a grand jury is convened, they can get all of that. I don't care. Like you can remove it from the staff, but when I go through the financial records, I'm not going to like HR of the government entity or the fiscal office of the government entity. I'm going to the banks where that shit is deposited at. Like I'm going to the source of funds to find out where it's coming from to where it's going. So they can easily find that. Will Patel think independently from the White House? All right, let me answer this because if I don't answer it now, I'm gonna forget. I actually just had this conversation today with. I just had this conversation today with my former deputy, smart guy, one of my mentors. He was my deputy, but he was my mentor because he had way more experience than me. But a smart guy. Um, it depends. I hate to give the lawyer answer. It depends on what do you mean as think independently? Because for years the FBI was an extension of the executive branch. That's why J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI for like 18 presidents because he had those files and people were scared to get him out of office. So it depends. I think that he'll likely, I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I think he will defer to the agenda of the executive branch um, and the Department of Justice. I think that's just what it is. I think that's what it is. Like, if I'm the president, you think I want a director of the FBI who not going to try to focus on some of the things that I want to do? Now, the FBI is supposed to have some autonomy to look into things even if it's wrongdoing being done by a political party. But I don't know how that's going to play out. But I'm gonna keep it a buck. I was shocked at Cash Patel when the email came out. What did you do last week by Elon Musk? He was the first of the alphabet law enforcement agencies to say we not answering that shit, and his position was actually a good position. So I'm not really sure. I think he's going to take the marching orders, but I think he's going to have some discretion. One thing that won't happen, he won't look at anything related to the president. I know that for a fact. But outside of that, I think most things will be fair game, and he'll have some autonomy to work relatively independent. Yeah, Jason House closing at 88 and gave the FBI green light. Dalton is on the map for being the bravest, inspirational, and strongest community in history. Hey, shout out to them. They did what they needed to do. Some people ain't willing to sacrifice for change, though. Like, hey, if you want change, you gotta raise hell sometimes. It is what it is. Let's see. Isn't the hmm I would probably say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is the Thornton Township election that she's going to lose probably worse than 12% of votes she got. The Thornton Township supervisor election is April 1st. April Fool's Day, she's going to take a L. I just don't think so because they issued a subpoena. And if I'm not mistaken, from what I saw in the news, if I'm issuing a subpoena on February 25th, is the end of February, I need time to get the information back from you. Then I need time to actually review the information. Then I need time to do an analysis of the information I just got back and compare it and contrast it to what I already have to identify if they're if I'm looking at a credible allegation of fraud and if the information I just got back from the subpoena is enough for me to identify fraud that occurred on specific dates. So I would actually be shocked if it happened by the end of March. Because let's say you send the grand jury subpoena out, they'll probably get it. They would probably get it February 28th. They would probably get it March 14th, March 17th, somewhere around that time. Then you got from March to evaluate the information, depending on how much information they requested and the volume of responsive records that they're going to get. They're going to have to, and if it's money stuff related to property, you're probably going to have an auditor look at it and an investigator look at it. So I think March is going to be a no-go. And I think they're going to hold consistent with we don't like the general. Well, yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that's too soon. I would probably, if I had to guess, April would be her loss as a township supervisor. I would probably say sometime in the summer, maybe July or August. That'll give them enough time to get all their ducks in a row and figure out whatever they're looking into on this land deal. Interesting. Yeah, IRS is always going to be involved when there's money involved, because I know a lot of that shit. Illegal money is never claimed for tax purposes. Is this the last stand for the woman movement? I don't know. I mean, the woman movement will bounce back. She was just a bad representative for the woman movement. Would you all do that? Like, all right, let's say you committed a crime, right? y'all law-abiding citizens. Shout out to the law-abiding citizens out here. But let's say you committed a crime in Chicago, right? You are aware of this fraud, but nobody else knows it's going on. Now, you can't tell on yourself anonymously. So you can't be like Jack Jackingson. No, you have to put your name. I, John Clayton, hereby am telling on myself for what I did. Would you, if you committed a crime and to your knowledge, the feds aren't aware of it, would you tell on yourself? But here's the kick. You're telling on yourself, but there's no guarantee that you'll get the sweetheart deal where they won't prosecute you or go light on you. You could tell on yourself and they could say, you know what? We appreciate you, but we about to max your ass out and you're going away forever. Would you tell on yourself if there's no guarantee that you're going to get a sweetheart deal? And it's on a case by case basis. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would tell on myself if I can't get a guarantee that I'm gonna get a sweetheart deal. Like, nah. I would much rather go to my attorney, have my attorney go to the U.S. Attorney's office and see what they can figure out before I submitted my name. You fill out everything you apply on this form and fill it out. Then you're gonna send all that shit over the email, what you just did. Hell no. I honestly, like, I would probably advise people to take this, but it would depend on the nature of the crime and how much exposure they have. Generally, like, hey, if you could get something that's guaranteed sweetheart deal, you take it, but there's no guarantee here. So, I don't know. That's kind of wild. Let's see. Definitely not by the end of March. Let's see. Last stand for woman movement. What would you do? I thought about that. If you were hired as mayor, would you kick out the food pantry program manager? I don't like calling him the food pantry guy. Put some respect on this title. Would you kick out the food pantry program manager if you were the newly elected mayor? Interesting. Yeah, he would probably have to go. Do you think that's the right decision? Let me know in the comments. Would you keep him or would you fire him? Would you keep him or would you fire him? He would probably have to go. Nah, he was too out there for the ops, in my opinion. And even if he stayed, I don't know if his job is. I don't know if what he does is actually worth the $30-something thousand bonus that Tiffany Henyard gave him. I think that bonus wasn't for his job. I think that bonus was for all the extra goofy shit that he was doing, filing the claims and being a voice and doing all of that stuff. Okay. Interesting. It's a shame. Women politicians have come under fire for severe poor choices, just like the mayor of Mabton, The entire police department quit. Damn shame. The keys to the evidence locker Avro. I saw that. I saw that. We just had she wasn't a politician, but she was a government official, a female government official here in DC who allegedly took bribes. And I think she was in the same boat with the DC council member Trayon White. But yeah, people crashing out. Okay, I'll take a look. There's another program. I'll take a look. I don't know. I wouldn't tell on myself. I might give someone else different legal advice, but if it's me, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I gotta tell on myself, and y'all not gonna guarantee that I don't gotta go to the big house. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. What's going on, Common Sense? How are you? I hope all is well. Wolverine, what's good, brother? What is good? Thank you, monitors. I appreciate everybody in the chat as well. Price's wife quit the library board suddenly. There is some investigation regarding how Keith was appointed to the library board and finances. All of that shit, boy. Illinois is got the wildest politics in the world. Let's see. June, in my opinion. Hey, shout out to the members, the official co-counsel. I appreciate y'all. And also shout out to everybody else because y'all be sending me these stories because I damn sure was going to talk about something else tonight. I was like, I'm tired of talking about this heifer. I don't want to talk about this heifer no more. Then I was like, oh man, subpoena. June, I agree. I think July, August. I think July, August. Because right now, I'm thinking July, August. Only reason I'm thinking July, August, because the U.S. Attorney's Office is stretched thin. They stretched thin as hell. Like all the places in the federal government aren't hiring except the U.S. Attorney's Office. You know what happened when your president signs a lot of executive orders? A lot of court cases, a lot of people challenging the constitutionality of those executive orders. And that requires a lot of attorneys in court making arguments that may be salient arguments or dumbass arguments. It is what it is, but they are low on manpower. So it's going to be interesting to see. She owns a real estate company in Dalton, and allegedly she stole a lot of homes and had them fixed up. And there's some nice looking houses. Okay. Can anybody explain if allegedly she stole these houses? How was this done? Was it what is the scheme for the stealing of the houses? And there are a bunch of schemes out there. You could have, for an example, I could have local law enforcement go through and identify all the persons who are on a list to be evicted and prioritize those evictions for people who I know and are asked out in dire straits and can't pay it. Prioritize those evictions, get them out of those houses as soon as possible. Once they're out of those houses go into a foreclosure sale. Then you buy the property for pennies on the dollar at the foreclosure sale. Like, I need to know what I've seen a lot of comments about her allegedly stealing houses. I need to know what the scheme was because it would have to involve buying these properties at a significantly reduced amount. So I'm thinking it would be something along those lines if I just had to guess. I'm looking at a time frame in May. I don't know. We go. Now is the time. Now that the Dalton election is over with, now it's time to start I should do a giveaway. Now it's time to start a giveaway. And you know what? You got to pick a date. You got to pick an actual month and day, and the people who are the closest. We got to figure something out. I probably have to do it on an Excel spreadsheet and have the tabs as each month, so people can go through and identify. As a Google Doc, people can go through and identify what day of what month they want. That might be interesting. Okay. I appreciate that, Clint. Uh, how was she acquiring the properties? Because I know she damn sure wasn't paying them at market value. Because if you get a property at market value, it defeats the purpose of a scam. The whole point is buy low, sell high. Fire him. I agree. You got to fire him. You got to fire him. See, everybody got to. hey, you see President Trump firing a bunch of top executives because they rock with the last guy. You got to fire him. Somebody who was that out there. It was one thing if he was just very good at his job as the food pantry program manager. But when you out there and got a $30,000 pay increase from this woman, now you out there being extra, like, nah, you gotta go. It ain't no question about that. You gotta get up. Okay. Typically, jurors are across the board meant to be fair and impartial, but that's pretty much impossible. Any jury, whether it's jury for a jury pool, generally they don't want the jury looking at evidence related to the cases that they're going to hear. And the reason they don't is because they don't want to taint the jury pool. Now, it's going to be interesting because I just there's no way you can have a jury pool that's not tainted, that doesn't have some familiarity with what Tiffany Henyard has going on. It's just no way. I feel fairly confident that, well, I don't know. Maybe 12% of the people in Illinois is unaware of what's going on, but I feel fairly confident that most people that could serve on a grand jury or a jury has some knowledge about Tiffany Henyard and her allegation and alleged misappropriations. But typically, all jurors across the board, they want to keep you clean because they don't want you to like, hey, when you go home, don't discuss this case with your wife. And jurors go home and they be in the bed like, honey, you know what happened? Man, let me tell you. They go like, yeah, but they big about that. Like, if you're having a jury trial and I'm like, I'll be ready to go to lunch and the elevator open up and I'm on the elevator and I see the members of the jury, I don't even get on that elevator because all it takes is the jury to say that I said one thing wrong and the whole case is screwed. Everybody else, hey, shout out to Jason House, Clean House 2025. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way to go. I think that's the way to go. Like, I don't know. He could have been a fire food pantry guy. All the extra shit was goofy to me, and I can't have you around because I can't trust. I can't trust that you're gonna do your job effectively without trying to screw me over. Pretty much, he was not following guidelines. Yeah, all y'all smart. Where did Lacey go? I don't know. He got that federal bankruptcy fraud case that he working on. Like, I don't know. Do y'all think like Lacey would be like the star witness? I just don't. I'll be honest. I don't think Lacey knew enough about what was going on with the money to be like a major factor. Personally, I think Keith Freeman is the goose that's laying the golden eggs for the feds. No, I don't think he got a bonus. We did a video. We looked at a video. We did a video where I don't know if he got a bonus, but he did get a 30, what was it, 30,000, $32,000 pay raise. In this same position, didn't get a promotion, just got a 30 some odd $1,000 pay raise. Yes, it's two separate things because I wanted to have it explained. So I actually got a video. I'll probably link it to this. But essentially, Dalton is the equivalent of a city. The township is the equivalent of a county. So, like, if you're in like Maryland, Prince George's County has multiple cities within it, and that's kind of the same equivalent. So, the Thornton Township is a huge area that has a bunch of cities within it, and Dalton is a city that falls within the Thornton Township. What's going on, pretty eyes? How you doing? Hey, good to see you on here. I felt like I haven't seen you in a while. Well, I haven't called your name out in a while. I'm trying to call out everybody's name, especially especially my family members who I always see. That's hey, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm just saying that he could have been a fire food pantry guy. I don't know. They had cooking with Tiff. He could have been making sure they got all their oats and barley and everything. I don't know. I'm just firing them just for all the extra shit. That's just me. Well, if there's fraud with acquiring the property, may not necessarily be related to the sale of the property. So what normally happens in those situations when you have, okay, let's hypothetically, Kamal acquired the property fraudulently for $80,000. He sells it for $200,000. The St. Patrick's Tiffany comes, buys, purchases it for 200,000, then put 6 million into it to knock down the old vet, I think it was, and build up this restaurant. Her purchase was legitimate. So it's going to be a question of title. And courts are, there's a few ways this could be resolved. Um, if he had never had good title to the property, if you don't have good title, how can you sell something you never had? But the question would be, whoever owned the property and had actually good title. Right now, this restaurant is already built on it. You can't ask these people to take down St. Patrick's restaurants. That's $6 million fucking dollars. Ain't no way for a person who probably owned the property, and when they purchased it, let's say the rightful owner got it for 50,000. Let's just say the person who first bought it was the rightful owner. Just hypothetically, purchased it for $50,000. Kamal finessed it and bought it somehow for $80,000. He sell his illegitimate title for $200,000. They build a gang of shit on it. Typically, what would happen in that scenario is, even though he didn't have proper title to the property, he can't sell proper title, but the court would likely find that it's too much of a hardship. The person who bought it and rightfully owned it for $50,000 can't be like, yo, I want my land back. Y'all take all of y'all shit off there. So normally the court will work out something to make sure it's equitable and fair, where, okay, y'all already got this property on there, so you all have to buy him out for market value or something to that effect. That's normally how that'll work. If there's an illegal transaction, then purported legitimate transaction, but the person never had legal title to do a legal transaction, the court will have to find some type of equitable remedy, because I own the property for $50,000 outright, and I'm like, no, I want that property to stay in my family because my great grandpa bought it. The court's not going to say tear down your $6 million restaurant and let him get his property back. That was a good question. Good question. He's he break his arm and Crisco come out. That's what I'm thinking. That's the only way that this land finesse could work. I'm controlling the local police department. I'm like, yo, who haven't paid their bills? Who's in foreclosures? Y'all need to go do your job and get them the fuck out of here. Get them the hell out of here so we can expedite these foreclosure sales and I can capitalize on it. So I agree with you 100%, common sense. That if there was land theft and real property theft by Henyard, that would have to be the name of the game. Yeah. Passing out bonuses is wild. Nobody should be getting paid anything until they get their facts. She used the other people to purchase them. But even if she used other people to purchase them, regardless of how she purchased them, those other people weren't purchasing it at market value. So it has to be some type of, it could have been, it could have been a couple ways. Like, okay, way number one could have been identify people who are close to foreclosure or in foreclosure status. You tell Lacey, I tell Lacey, yo, you and your boys go, hurry up and get those evictions done so we can expedite the foreclosure here. Then me and my people can buy up all these properties. Or a scam that we talked about that Tiffany Henyard, what was his name? He was listed in the other subpoena. But we did a video on this dude may be the most corrupt person in Tiffany Henyard's circle. Or if it's not a foreclosure scam, they could have a property assessor decrease the value of properties and force down the sale price of those properties. That could be it too. That was one that he's in prison now, but that was one that Tiffany Henyard ally would do. He would pay a kickback or pay money to a Dalton assessor. That assessor would assess the property value lower than what it was for whatever reasons, and so that could be another finesse. But normally, somehow they pay below market value. We just got to figure out what the scheme was. It was either a foreclosure scheme or they were paying maybe assessors to decrease the property value so that people can swoop in and buy it for a lower amount. Okay, Holmes, I got it now. I see it. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was confused when I started. I was confusing them up. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Yeah, if they keep Keith Price, his ass is the pantry man, but that is their current salary. Give him his job description, have him organize a food giveaway. I thought about that. Like, well, give him his job, but say, you know what? You can't take this $30,000 bump. But what would you do if somebody gave you a $30,000 raise? That person is no longer there. Then the new guy came in and gave you a $30,000 pay decrease. If you keep me, you better keep me at the same price. Keeping me at the same price may lead me not to screw you over. I think about it, be like, man, he didn't have to keep me at the same salary. Maybe I'm not gonna screw this guy. If you lower my salary, you definitely getting the screwed over. So yeah, I think the best thing to do is just terminate him. Google form be best. I agree. I think that's what it is. A Google form, have the tabs as the calendar, and people will just like, we got to make it. What you'll do is I'm thinking, a Google form, each tab is a different month, different days within that month, and you just put your YouTube handle as the day and month for the month and day that you think the arrest is going to go down. That'll be cool. I'm gonna have to get. That'll be cool. June for her birthday. That'll be hilarious. Scavenger sale tax. Let's see. Okay, it is claimed that the houses belong to the local government and were obtained through taxes and other means. She then quickly transferred ownership of these properties to herself and her associates. If that's how it was done, that's the stupidest shit in the world. If that how it was done, if the mere that would be stupid. That's easy, yeah. If that was the scam, yeah, she screwed. Either way, she screwed because none of these scams are complicated, but that would be terrible. I searched online and found many addresses for Tiff. Then you look at the homes on the street view that allows multi-date photos. You see the trees being cut down and the sidewalk fixed. That's funny because I said that in the video. You just confirmed it for me. I never looked, Clint. I appreciate that. But I did say in the last video I did when Tiffany Henyard gave her first comments after the election results, she touted how she fixed the roads and highways. And one of the first things I said is, one, if you've been mayor for 4 years and the best thing you can talk about is fixing the infrastructure, you suck. But two, the second thing I said was, that's probably the sidewalk in front of her house. So that's actually hilarious. If that's actually hilarious that is the case. Lacey struck me as a yes man and just rolled along with the ignorance because he was financially benefiting with the overtime. I agree. I think all of them were. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, shout out to people who may have been a part of the wrong thing and are now doing the right thing. But a trustee called herself a whistleblower. But in order to be a whistleblower, you have to have some intimate knowledge of the wrongdoing. before she was a trustee, how did you have that intimate knowledge? Now, it could be you could be a whistleblower, it could be ignorant to the fact, but it's I don't know. I'm not saying that anything nefarious was done with that particular trustee, but I think a lot of people went along with the benefit until the feds started watching personally, or people got an inclination that it was getting media broadcast. Not saying that what this particular trustee did, but I think a lot of people get along to get along until people start looking. Lacey was doing way too much now. Yeah, I don't think he was even in the loop. He was just, to me, I think he was just kind of hired muscle. That's how I look at him. I think that Keith Freeman was kind of like Keith Freeman. I'm not saying Lacey would have been out of his lane, even if relatively mildly complex financial fraud was going on in real estate transactions. I don't even know if Lacey would even be in a position to see it or have the bandwidth to see it. That would be the same with uh Lavelle Redmond. They asked him, "Were you aware of fraud?" He was like, "I wasn't in a position to be able to see it, and even if it was going on in front of me, I just didn't have the facts to be able to identify that's what it was." I think Lacey was in that same boat. Okay. But also the police forfeiture account, there was money in it when he left, and then it was empty. That's crazy. I never heard of the police forfeiture account. I'm familiar with asset forfeiture account, but I never knew, because normally what happens to funds when an asset forfeiture is done? They just reinvest it and go back into programs. So normally, if I had an asset forfeiture program in my city and my cops were doing asset forfeitures, I would be like 20% is going to go to community functions, 30% will go to school, 30% would go be reinvested into programs for economic opportunities and colleges. Like, that's kind of how it works out. So, normally those funds are split up amongst many things. But I will tell you, Bumblebee 66, that's actually a good point, because if you're the mayor and you have control of the sheriff, the local law enforcement, you got an opportunity to divert some of those funds in the asset forfeiture account. In addition to funds, asset forfeiture also could be property. It also could be cars, and so there is some opportunity today. If there's truth to that, there's definitely. I agree. That's a good point. They can justify cuts, layoffs, hiring freezes, a lot of that stuff. Anybody who got a substantial raise during Tiffany Henyard's tenure over what the average raise would have been for similarly situated people during that time, I'm looking at you sketch. Kenneth, what's going on, brother? Houses through scavenger sales. Yeah, that's what we said. It was either some foreclosure finesse or property assessors decreasing the value. So yeah, that's stupid to do stuff with credit cards. Let's see. Good burger. See, that's that creative. So every place she showed in her video during the election day about the roads was a road associated with a home that she had an interest in. That's crazy. The purposeful swinging property appraisal was a 2009, a monkey and with numbers that led to the housing bubble implosion. An appraiser and mortgage broker willing to crash numbers. Yeah, they'll do it too. They'll crash some shits because they're gonna probably get it. Because think about it. I mean, appraiser crashed the number, the property sells for lower. Like, everybody could get a little bit of the taste of the kickback. It's called the self-licking ice cream cone. There's enough ice cream here for everybody to get. Oh, the food. That's funny. I think this will be the largest FBI bust in history. Nah, I don't know if it'll be the largest FBI bust in history. Yeah, I ain't gonna say specifics, but a pretty big one that I'm proud of occurred relatively recently over the past few days. So them alphabet boys out there doing their thing. But Rico is an option too. We actually did a video on the top 5 things she could be charged with, and Rico was one. The only the only reason I don't think they'll use Rico, even though it applies, and we did the analysis and the facts and everything, I don't think it'll apply because that's a terrible. It, it's not a terrible road to go down. If someone is doing Rico shit, they should get a Rico. I get that part, but for politicians to charge a politician with a RICO, even though they can commit crimes that fall within that category, that's a very that I don't think that any U.S. attorney or will want to go down that road. Once you start hitting politicians with RICO, you're gonna hit them all with RICOs. Because if a politician is doing fraud, you can't do the type of fraud that politicians do with only one person. You need multiple people. People got to sign their name and things. It requires multiple people. I just don't think that the Department of Justice wants to open the floodgate to we're charging politicians with RICO Act. Like that's yeah. Even though it could apply, it should apply. I don't think they want to go down that road. Yeah, property. Yeah, I'm gonna just be honest. I don't think that. I'm gonna just be honest. Hey, no shade to nobody, but I don't think that Tiffany Henyard had the. I don't think she was a world class criminal. I don't think she had the uh, bandwidth, the reach. I don't think she had the resources. I don't think she had the connections to be able to do a crime related to those properties and actually cover it up in a way. Like she couldn't even get the Tiffany Henyard Cares thing right. I don't say what you want. Tiffany Henyard Cares was supposed, in my opinion, I think that Tiffany Henyard Cares was supposed to be a nonprofit that allowed for her to funnel legit money and illegit money in, but she could still control that money even though it directly wasn't under her name. And she couldn't even get that right. And that's politician 101. Every politician has a foundation, the Clinton Foundation. No, every politician has a foundation, and it's a like, hey, don't donate to me, donate to my foundation. Because it's not coming to me, it's going to my foundation, but I still have the ability to control those funds and how they're used to some extent. But I just don't think I don't think her team had the resources and the intelligence to be able to cover up a property scheme so that nobody would be able to go back and identify it was her. Uh, excuse me. I don't think that that would actually occur. I don't think that would actually occur. I think the more likely scenario is some form of restitution, and if restitution is ordered, I just don't think Tiffany Henyard has the money and the resources to even be able to pay it. I agree. Let's see. I totally forgot about that one. Buy a home for $1, pay taxes on at 14%. So 14K on tax, then use the village to fix the infrastructure, increase the value of the property, instant capital. Yeah, we just got to figure out. I just want to figure out for me. I need to know how exactly they were purchasing the homes. Through what mechanism they were purchasing the homes. But that's about it. Definitely going to be a wonderful Netflix series. Oh, that's going to be a dope Netflix series, actually. Oh, yeah. Or a Tubi movie, one of the two. During Lori Lightfoot's investigation meeting, they brought up a female trustee's name. I can't think of it, but it was said not enough background was done on her and 3 others. Anyone remember? Let's see. Oh, fuck. I mean, Yes, yes. Think I don't think that I don't think there's a way for her to get out of this without going into custody. And why would I? One, I think she has too much exposure. Like we did the top 5 charges, but I, we did a video on the top 5 charges she could be charged with. I could honestly, I probably could have did top 10 charges, top 10 crimes she could be charged with, but we only did 5 that I thought were the easiest to prove, and all of those 5, like, nah, it's no way, it's no way, like, nah, no way. As if I'm a new AUSA, why would I not want to get a former mayor? I don't give a damn if it's of a small town or not. That'll be a great case to kind of wet your whistle into the AUSA seat that you sitting there. But I think it's a 10. I think it's a 10. Like if she, I'm not gonna say a 10. I would say an 8.9. Let's be 8.9. There's a chance she could not go into custody. I mean, Lord forbid something could happen to her before. But I would say 8.9. Let's see. Really? Kamal got connects like that? Because a lot of people say that Tiffany Henyard, like, oh, she got money. She been just stealing so much money. I just don't. I don't. I don't see her having the connections to successfully launder money. And if you were a money launderer and Tiffany Henyard came to you with $1 million, would you launder it? No, she's too messy. You really going to prison. So I don't know. Like, I'm not familiar with Kamal and his reach out here in these streets. So maybe he does have some plugs who could be able to finesse the type of paperwork and corporate shells needed to cover up a property transaction so it can't be easily traced back to you. Lacey is a big liar. As police chief, trustees set Lacey up. They knew he didn't have a dog in the department. He got caught lying and they did. I mean, I don't know. That was just terrible from the start. Let me get through these last few comments, then I'm gonna jump out of here. Your boy. Yeah, I think it was Kiana, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Kiana. I agree. That's why I don't think she got any money. Everybody like, man, she's sitting on M's. I just don't see it. Bragging and flexing, yeah. Videos are great evidence. I don't think they did background checks on pretty much anybody though. But even interesting. That's what we're gonna do. I think I'm a because I mean if even if they're ghost companies, all you gotta do is find out who's attached to the paperwork. So typically somebody got a company, then they make somebody make an LLC, then they put a nonprofit and 6 more LLCs under there, then they put another 501(c) nonprofit under there, and they just continue to do this. All you gotta do, but people I've had videos where was it? I'm trying to think, was it Tiffany Henyard or some other politician? It was somebody I looked at though, and we actually went to the Secretary of State's website to look at the articles of incorporation to see who signed. Somebody got to sign something somewhere. And most times, when there's multiple business, you'll either see the same attorney signing, similar names in other places signing. So there's a way to trace it. Like none of that shit is untraceable. None of that stuff is untraceable. Yeah. They didn't do background checks on anybody. No background checks. I mean, come on. They didn't do background checks on anybody. But I think that was purposely done. Now. I think everything was. There's a reason that Keith Price got a $30,000 raise. There's a reason that oh man, her name escapes me. The alleged victim. in the Vegas situation. There's a reason that she said in her interview she made $100 and something thousand a year with her two jobs, and that was the most money she made in her life. Like, if I hire people who got checkered past and backgrounds to do something, and I can pay them or give them a position of power or pay them more than they probably made, they owe me something. So the reason the background checks weren't done was for a reason. No, I just don't think they're gonna. I've 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 never seen a situation where municipalities sued the mayor for wrongdoing. Normally, if the mayor does something wrong and they're convicted and there's a monetary crime, the court is just going to impose a restitution order along with that conviction. So, why would I waste my resources? I seriously doubt it, because it would be a waste of resources to sue Tiffany Henyard. One, she probably judgment proof because she may not have the money. Maybe if she liquidate assets, because I say she got all these houses. I don't know. But why go through the filing of a lawsuit, the paying of an attorney to be able to get damages and actual losses for the municipality, when if she's found guilty or she pleads guilty, the judge is going to attach a restitution order anyway. Let the court enforce it on the criminal side. That's the easiest thing to do. Let the court enforce it on the criminal side. That's what I would do. Not, hey man, hey man, hey, you can be you're a wise man in the boat, man. You telling me stuff that I didn't know. So wise man in the boat. Phinia, that's what I couldn't think of her name. But there's a reason that background checks weren't done. There's a reason that people were given raises beyond what they probably deserved or what was the industry norm. People were given jobs that made more money than they ever made before. It was all a control mechanism. That's what that was. Ah, interesting. And that was in a civil lawsuit? Prison selfies? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I would just be honest. Like, if Tiffany Henyard goes down and her and Kamal on trial, I can see Kamal getting ghosted. He gonna go south of the border or something. What's going on? What's going on? Shout out to the ATL. I appreciate you tuning in, Teresa. Hello from Atlanta. I'm new to the channel. I was wondering if Tiffany gets to keep the BMW she has too. Anything that's gotten with ill-gotten gains is going to be taken. That asset forfeiture is real. Asset forfeiture don't play. If you bought some shit and you can't justify the legitimate money to how you bought it, they're going to take it. So asset forfeiture is real. If there's anything that could be tied to the ill-gotten gains, it's going to be gone. Or if there's anything that could be tied to the ill-gotten gains, or they can't prove that there was legitimate funds to be able to purchase those things, is a wrap. It's going to be gone. Usually the city has a crime policy in case of any appointed official wrongdoing, but these policies are based on claims made, date of claims, and they let the policies go. Interesting. So a lot of it is covered through insurance. Yeah, that's a good point too, Norm. Damn good point. They go out like Bonnie and Clyde. They gonna go out like I don't know. I think I don't know. Low key, I think Kamal would tell. Hey, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. Both sides of the aisle, both sides of the bench, so to speak. Hey, people tell, man. Nobody really want to go to prison. That for a long time too. Nobody really want to go to prison for a long time. You're welcome. There's so many stories in that BMW. Yeah, assets can be seized and restitution too. Yep. Good point. Hey, that's actually a damn good point too, AP. You could there is some protection to assets through a marriage. And like I've seen some fucked up situations where like a person is married, they don't get a divorce, they get separate, they just separated. Then the guy gets into another relationship, buys a house with his girlfriend, The guy dies, and now the girlfriend owns the house with his ex-wife. I'm like, man, that sucks. Is that crazy stuff can happen. The issue with no background checks fall under errors and omission, but you have to prove it was not an intentional criminal negligent act. And with all the investigations, insurance may back off. Interesting. Thanks for your subject matter expertise, Common Sense. I appreciate that. It can hit both ways. Okay. Hey, child support is. Hey, I can't relate. I don't want no parts of the child support game. I just be like, man, just take it. Yeah, just take it. I don't want no parts of that game. Yo, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm about to jump off this live stream. What I may do is, I may do a separate video, but not a live stream, where I look at businesses owned by Tiffany Henyard and look at the articles of incorporation. We can see if there's any consistencies between the names on the Henyard Cares Foundation 501 C nonprofit paperwork, Good Burger paperwork, and any of the companies that she has that are property holding companies. That'll be actual interesting video to do. That's actually going to require me to do some work. But I think I may do that. But I probably won't do it as a live. It'll be a pain as a live to do. I don't know. We ain't gonna go there. I don't know. That's sounding we getting full blown conspiracy theory. Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks for saying that. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Y'all hit the like button for the algorithm. It's free to do. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Yo, y'all have a good one. Peace out, Paul. Peace out to everybody. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Hey, the feds are still here. They still watching. It is what it is. We're going to be there. I'm going to work on the Google Sheet. We're going to do a Google Sheet. Everybody can put their name down on the month and day that they think that. Should we do it the day of the indictment? We'll title it indictment / arrest, and we'll go by the actual day. If an arrest isn't made, we'll go by the date that the indictment is handed down. But if an indictment is handed down, I'm 99.99999% sure that an arrest is going to be made. But we're going to figure out something, and I'll do some giveaway and figure out how we can make this work. Yo, I appreciate y'all. Y'all, hey, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Let me see. She keeps giving. Yeah. I know. I didn't want to do this video. I changed it at the last minute because I didn't know about the new subpoena. Yo, y'all have a blessed one. Be safe. Enjoy y'all weekend. Make sure it's supposed to be warm. I don't know. It's supposed to be warm. Hit 60-something degrees. Get out the house and enjoy the weather. Y'all be blessed. Peace.